Hello, I'm Sirat, and today I'm here to discuss some things about GA4 admin. Now, we know that GA4 has given us a ton of new features. We are going to explore them in detail and we are going to see that how can they be useful to us. So, we can go to the admin by clicking this option here. This will appear in front of us. So we have the admin account and all the properties that are created inside it. So let's start with the property settings. So when we were creating the property, we get this option to put the property name, industry, reporting time zone, and currency. We can edit this now also as per our need. The property name should be relevant to the data that we are collecting. The industry category is basically for if we check in the box that sends data anonymously to Google. So this will be used there, and the reporting time is from where our business is, and this is our currency. We can leave this as it is. The access in GA4 has two types. Either we can give the access to a user on account level, or we can give access to the user on property level. If we give access to the user on account level, the user will be able to access all the properties that were made inside the account. So if it is not absolutely necessary, we should avoid giving the account level access, and instead we should add user on the property level. That way the data is separated and a single user cannot access all the data. So in GA4, we have streams. Each property can have stream of web data, Android data, and iOS data. So if we give access to a particular user for a particular property, then that user will have access to all the streams. So if we do not wish that the user should have access to all the streams, it is recommended to create different property for different stream. That way we can selectively give user the access to different properties. We will explore this in detail now. So this basically helps us to add users to our property. We will click add and add user. Here we will have some options that we should carefully choose because they are gonna determine how will the user will be able to interact with our data. So first of all is the email ID. So this is very important as this is how we are gonna identify the user. Next, we have roles. So roles should be selected very carefully. If we are adding somebody who is fairly new and who does not have the idea of what is actually happening, then we can give the person the right of a viewer. In this way, there will be no problem or discrepancy that will be created and our data will be still safe. The entire opposite of a viewer is an administrator, the person with all the rights. The administrator can even add and remove users just like we are doing right now. So we should very carefully select this option because if the access of an admin is given to a wrong person, then that can be a very problematic situation. Next, we have the editor option. So the editor can do edit all the data and settings of a property, but just the editor cannot manage the user. The users can only be managed by the admin. Next, we have analyst. So analyst can create and edit the shared assets, the assets that are already shared in the properties. And analyst also has the viewer roles. Now, if we want the user to not view the cost related metrics, then we can select this option. And if we want the user to not view the revenue related metrics, then we can select this option. After we have selected all the relevant options here, we can click add. And by clicking add, the user will gain access to this property and can perform according to the role assigned. Let's see data streams. GA used to have views. Like views is like a subset with different configuration settings. Like we can have unique configuration settings for each view. But in GA4, we do not have views, we have streams. We can collect data from iOS, Android, and web using streams. So we can add the stream from here and we can have up to 10 to 20 streams at a time and it won't give problem. So let's explore this web stream. Here, we first of all have the stream URL. Now, this is the URL from which the data is being collected. Next, we have the measurement ID. Now, this is the ID that we used to connect our Google Analytics to our Google Tag Manager yesterday. We have event measurement. If we click settings, we can select that if we do not want to measure a particular thing, like we do not want to measure scroll, then we can turn it off and that will not be measured. We will leave this as it is for now. We also have the option to modify the events and create custom events. And one more thing, we have this measurement protocol. So earlier, people could easily grab the tracking code from our website and they could use that tracking code to send spam data to our account. What measurement protocol API do is that we can create a new secret API value without which the data will not be sent. So it basically safeguards our data. Here we have some Google tags. So this manage tag site option is for the sites that are hard coded. Like if we are manually pasting the tag there. So this is for them. It is not recommended and it is always recommended to use a tag manager because tag manager make the process much easier and it is also easy to update the tags using tag manager. Now we can explore more options using configure tag settings. Here, if we click show all, we have a lot of options. So the first option will be manage automatic event detection. We already know that we can turn off some of these if we do not wish for them to be tracked. Then we have configure domain. If we have two different websites whose data we want to track simultaneously, so we can put the URL of another website here. In that way, the data from both the websites will be collected and displayed. We will discard the changes here. Now, we also have define internal traffic. So we can define some of the internal user traffic, which we want to specify as internal. We can click create. And we can, like if the company has two different headquarters, one in Delhi, one in Bangalore, then we can name the headquarter here and classify the company traffic as internal and put the IP address here. So that user will be specified as an internal traffic user. Now we have the list or option of list unwanted referrals. Let's say that we have a website where we have the option to buy something. So the user make the purchase and after the purchase is made, the user goes to the option to pay online. So if the user is directed to any online payment option like PayPal, so and we want to not include that in our data, so we can simply write the domain of PayPal here and it will be disclosed. Next, we have the session timeout. So by default, the session timeout is 30 minutes. That if the user is not active for 30 minutes, the session will be timed out. Mostly this is the recommended setting, but if in a particular case we want to change it, we can change it from here, and we can also change the adjust timer for engaged session. So engaged session is if the user is doing something. Session as an engaged session that lasts a certain time, and it is particularly 10 seconds here, and we can change it again according to our need and the thing that we are tracking. We also have the option to include user provided data. We can check this if we want to enable that. Now we come back. This was the web stream that we wanted to explore. Now we will see that here we have an option of data settings. We have three options here: data collection, data retention, and data filters. Let's see data collection first. So this gives us the option to enable Google Signal. As we know that Google Signal, if a user is signed in using the Google account, then the Google will use that ID for tracking the user. So we can get started from here and enable this. We also have the option to allow add personalization, which we will see in detail later on. And we also have the user data collection acknowledgement, we are giving the acknowledge that user data can be collected. Now, if we go to data retention, by default, the data is stored in the history for 2 months. Now, this we are talking about raw data. The aggregate data is stored. Like if the report is generated, that will stay. But if we go here, this exploration. So if we want to make changes to the data coming here in the exploration, then we will be able to do that up till 2 months. Now, this is the setting that we need to select in advance, because if we want the data to be available for the longer period, then we have to select 14 months here. This depends on our use case, and again we have to discuss it with the company that do we want the data for this much long time or not. Then we have data filters, which we can provide, like we can filter some of the traffic, like here the internal traffic can be excluded. Then we have reporting identity. Now we have three ways of the identity. First is the user ID. So whichever our website is, when the user log in or authorize himself, then a user ID is generated. So this is particularly a string, like a ID that is generated. So first of the preference will be given to that ID. But there are many sites out there who do not have the preference, like who are not actually asking the user to log in. So in that case, if the user is logged in using the Google account, then that ID will be used. And if none of it is available, then the device ID will be used and will be stored in the cookie, and it will be used until the cookie is not cleared. We also have the attribution settings. So we can select that how much conversion credit should be given. Like, should it be based on the last data, like entire data that has been collected, which is the recommended setting, or should the last click should be given the most conversion credit, or the first click should be given the more conversion credit, or should the conversion credit be distributed equally, or should the first and last click be given more credit and the remaining should get equal credit. So we have different options that we can select from here. If we change this, this setting will be applied both to the history and to the future. Now we also have the look back window. Up till when do we, up till what time do we want to look back after the first, like after 30 days after the first interaction, a conversion happens. So what is the time window that we want to keep? Because sometimes the user do not immediately make the conversion and it can happen even after days or weeks. So 30 days is recommended here for acquisition conversion, and for all the other conversion it is 90 days, and we can change this also. Now we also have the option of Google Ad links. So first of all, we will have to link using our Google account, and we can do some improvement from marketing here. We can create audience directly from GA4, and which can be very useful and easy. So these were the few properties of GA4 admin which we discussed, like the property setting, property access management, and the data streams, and various data settings, and attribution settings, reporting identity, and Google Ad links. So many more of them is still to come as GA4 is still building and new features are added almost every day. So yeah, this is what we will discuss today. Thanks a lot.